welcome to another episode of Set Musings. So we're taking a look at New Phyrexia, the third set from the Scars and Mirrored in block. Lots of interesting stuff to look at, and as we go through this, one thing, and you've probably noticed already, with this particular block how much carryover and bleed through there was across all the sets in the block in terms of the sort of keywords and abilities that they retained, you know, from Scars and Mirrored in through Mirrored in Besieged to New Phyrexia. There's a few additional themes and mechanics that are sort of brought in or specific to the set. So things that are specific for this set in the block are coloured artefacts. There's a couple of golems in here, and there is also a golem theme in that Khan's in the set. We've got Phyrexian mana being introduced. You can see here, we'll explain that in due course. But keywords, ability words, of which you've seen already with the previous sets, so things like Imprint, Living Weapon, Infect, Proliferate and Metalcraft. And again we have these watermarks which indicate the particular faction, be it a Mirren or Phyrexian. And the idea here is, in this particular set, effectively Phyrexia has taken over. We'll talk a little bit about some marketing shenanigans that wizards got engaged in, and to some degree, you know, they spun one story and then it turned out that they weren't being entirely truthful. I don't know if that's the right word. I mean, it was a sales puff, it was a marketing spin, and anybody that knows about how sets are designed will know that what they said was going to happen wouldn't happen. But we'll look at that at the end of going through the set. 175 cards, also 10 basic lands in the set. So all three of the sets in the block had basic lands. The first set had the full complement of 20, so 4 artwork each for all 5 mana. Scars and Mirrored in, then Mirrored in Besieged had 10 basic lands, 2 artwork for each of the mana, and the same with New Phyrexia was 10 basic lands. The idea behind this, I understand, was the sort of changing landscape as Phyrexia took control. There's 60 commons in here, 60 uncommons, 35 rares and 10 mythic rares. And it gives a total of 175 cards. Marketed in the usual way, so, you know, boosters. They also had some 6-card boosters, which they had for quite a while actually. I don't think I've necessarily mentioned those before. There were 5 intro packs, which we'll take a look at, 2 event decks, and a fat pack, which went on to become ultimately a bundle. Also at this point, the intro packs, I believe, are still 60 cards with 1 booster. So let us go through and take a look at the set by slicing it and dicing in different ways. So first things first, there's 3 cards which are reprints in the set. So Enslave, Evil Presence and Phyrexian Hulk. Enslave was first printed in Planar Chaos. Evil Presence was first printed in Alpha and last seen in 5th edition. And Phyrexian Hulk was first printed as uncommon in Tempest, last seen in 9th edition, and it's now a common. So 162 reprints, of which there are a couple of colour shifted things in here. Priest of Arabrask, which is red, was a colour shifted version of Priest of Gix, which was black, and Leeching Bite, which is green in this set, was a colour shifted version of Steel Strength, which was black. And as we scroll through this, you'll see the sort of things I'm going to be talking about. So you can see here's this Phyrexian mana. You'll probably start to spot there's a number of cycles here, and they're made fairly obvious by their names actually. A number of these. There's a cycle of Praetors as well. And we'll go through the different types and have a look at how, you know, the usual abilities that you see in the different colours are handled in this particular set, and are you know, thematically altered in some way to reflect the storyline. Nice artwork. When we come, it's going to be cool when we come to do the Friday artwork video. I'm looking forward to that. Rather nightmarish. So yeah, just be warned when we come to do Friday's video. Up close, some of this stuff looks very disturbing. Also, I don't think it's close enough, and they've done this before, but I know certainly when I look at these sort of sets, I see a strong Aliens vibe, and that's something I got also on some of the cards in the Zendikar block, but again it's here, at least to my eyes anyway. For instance, that. But yeah, some very weird stuff. So, 43 cards are colourless, and in a moment this will lead into an interesting thing they did with the set. We've got 126 monocoloured cards, which includes these coloured artefacts, and we have one card which is multicoloured, and that's Jor Kadeen the Prevailer. So let's have a look at some of the different sort of creature types we might see in the different colours. So we've got 16 cards that are white. Remember, it's a small set, and you can see a number of these creatures, excuse me, have this Phyrexian mana across the different colours. I think it's probably a couple in each colour, maybe more in one, some colours than the other, we'll see. So in terms of tribes, again, you're seeing these subtypes of artificers. Humans, I suspect, are going to be a thing across all colours, but I'm not necessarily seeing. Suppose we've got what, 3 soldiers in white. I think that's probably the predominant subtype here, maybe. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 there. And a couple of angels. So I'll look at black. See, sorry, blue. So again, we've got humans in blue, and as I mentioned, I think we'll probably see those across all colours. Drakes, again, artificer subtype. Makes sense in a artifact set where we've got coloured artifacts in addition to regular artifacts. Interesting, we've got a shapeshifter artifact here, Phyrexian Metamorph. Yeah, let's see a predominant blue tribe really here in this set. Let's go into black. Looks like in black we've got a few cleric subtypes, or a couple there. Spectre Imp. Looks like predominant one might be horrors. 1, 2, 3 horrors. A zombie, a vampire. So, yeah, what about red? Because we're always looking for goblins. So we've got a cleric there. Humans again. It's human warrior. Yeah, no. Are there no goblins at all? No, none. Okay. And then in green, again, you know, the artificer subtype showing up. Got 3 elves here, but the predominant tribe looks to be beasts. There's another horror there in green. Artificers, yeah, the human. So, large spells. Okay, the Chancellors. 1, oh, actually, saying that, is it most of the Praetors, which we'll take a look at? Yeah, so the big stuff are the Chancellors, the legendary Praetors, of which it looks like everyone except the red, and then a few things like we've got yeah, sorcery here. Khan is a 7 mana spell. Phyrexian Ingester and Maul Splicer. Okay, so back to this business of the coloured artifacts. So there are actually 12 coloured artifacts. Number of different types. We've got in white a couple of artifact creatures. We've got a regular artifact in white. Then in blue, a couple in blue, both creatures. A couple in black, both creatures. 3 in red, one of which is a artifact. And 2 in green, one of which is an artifact. And you can see the other thing with this, all of them have this Phyrexian mana. So it would be possible to actually play them in a deck if you weren't playing this colour, because Phyrexian mana can be paid with either in a certain colour, in this case white, or 2 life. And that's true for any colour of Phyrexian mana. It's either the colour or 2 life. So here, that would be 4 life if you wanted to cast that without green mana. But yeah, interesting that all of the coloured artefacts are also castable with Phyrexian mana. Couple of golems, also a sort of 5 colour thing going on here. So 34 cards. So in addition to those coloured artefacts, there are a number of other cards which aren't artefacts, which also use the Phyrexian mana if you want to. So you can see here it's 34. So, just to contrast, so 12 of that 34 are artefacts. So, that would be 22 which aren't artefacts. And it's across all things. Actually, I'll just make sure I've got that right. Saying that, I wonder if it's only... Let me do this on the fly. And we'll have a look. Because that's just something I've just thought of, is maybe if we net out the artifacts, we also and we want I may have made a mistake there as well. So they can all be paid, yeah. So they are all non-creature spells, where they're not artifacts, as opposed to. Looks like there's slightly more here. 20. Oh, what's I doing back here? So did we have... Yes, we did. Yeah. So, oh, this as well, of course. I forgot about this. So there was also activation costs. So there's some colourless spells in terms of their CMC, which also have activation costs, which can use Phyrexian mana. So yeah, there we go. Nearly missed that. 3 imprint cards. So with imprint, if you remember, when this particular permanent enters the battlefield, you exile something, and that exiled card is imprinted in some way so that it stops or has an effect on something happening. So for this one, whatever card you choose to exile, and it has to be a target non-land permanent. Players can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card. In the case of the Phyrexian Ingester, you may exile a target non-token creature when this enters the battlefield, and as a result it gets +X+Y, where X is the exiled creature card's power and toughness. An Invader Parasite, you exile a target land, and whenever a land with the same name as the exiled card enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, Invader Parasite deals 2 damage to that player. So again, there's quite a bit of variability here in terms of, you know, what's exiled, what's imprinted, and the conditions of that, but also what ultimately, how that exiled card is leveraged. So a pretty interesting ability across the whole block there. We've seen living weapons before. There's 4 more here. So it enters the battlefield with a 0/0 black germ creature token. You then attach that to it. if you choose to then equip it to something else, unless that token has been buffed in some way, that token is just going to go away because it's 0/0. And obviously all of these living weapons have a buff on them of some description, so that the germ token stays alive while they're attached. Infect, which we've seen already, so 20 infect cards, and just a reminder there that they deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters and to players in the form of poison counters. And 9 cards that specifically mention poison outside of the reminder text. So when I did this search, this was on Infect, and you can see the reminder text here does include the word poison. So when I did this search, I only did it on the Oracle text, not on what's called the full Oracle, which also includes this bit, just so we would just see cards that reference poison outside of the Infect ability. So there are 9 of those cards which interact with poison in some way. Then cards that mention -1/-1 counters in the full Oracle text. So most of these are going to be as a result of Infect, but you can see there are a number, again, where, let me find some here, I think I've just gone past some, yeah, so ones that also interact with -1/-1 counters beyond Infect. So there's a few of those. And again, we can see which ones there by saying, for the Oracle text, don't include anything with Infect. And that just leaves us with 4 cards. So these 4 cards are cards that have -1/-1 on them, but don't have Infect. So they're doing something with relation to -1/-1 counters. Here's Proliferate. So if you remember with Proliferate, it's the same as in the other sets. You choose any number of permanents and or players with counters on them, and then give each another counter of a kind already there. In addition, they're obviously doing other things. This is card draw. This has got Infect on it as well, and flying. This is -1/-1 counters, and this is 3 damage spell. Metalcraft, only 3 things with Metalcraft. Obviously, as the Phyrexian, elements, if you like, the Phyrexian elements increase and the Mirren elements decrease, you're going to see, not surprisingly, Metalcraft, which was a Mirren ability, the amount of cards with it on decrease. And so you'll see here, the cards which contain things which attributed to Phyrexia have that Phyrexian symbol on them. It's a lot of cards. Okay, so moving on to the cycles, we've got a cycle of Praetors. So these are all mythics. So they're mythic rare legendary creatures, 1 per colour, representing the Phyrexian rulers and a different philosophy among the Phyrexian army as to what exactly new Phyrexia should look like. They give a positive effect to the player controlling them, and an inverse effect to their opponents. So you can see that there. Cycle of Chancellors. So 5 rare creatures who can be revealed at the start of the game for a small effect to get an early advantage. So if you have these in your hand, in your opening hand, you can reveal it, and if you do, you get an effect. In addition, you can see they've got a number of extra abilities on them as well. But notice, you know, the effect in some ways is the sort of thing you'd expect in those colours. Well, the other thing is, yeah, I think I pointed this out earlier, notice the high casting cost of both the Praetors and the Chancellors. The exception here is, well, in terms of spells that are above 6 casting cost, this one is below it. It's 5 to cast. These are all very large spells, 7 to cast. Cycle of Exarchs at uncommon. So they're clerics. They let you choose to either exercise a positive effect on yourself or a permanent you control, or the inverse effect on the opponent or one of their creatures. So yeah, again, you're seeing this sort of, you know, you can do a positive thing and you can do a negative thing, or either or both, depending on the, obviously, the rarity of the cards, because you saw in the Praetors you got to do both. With these uncommon clerics, these exarchs, you get to choose. It's like a modal spell, one thing or the other, but they're in opposition. Cycle of Shrines in the set at uncommon. These artifacts gain a charge counter at the beginning of the controller's upkeep and whenever they cast a spell of the specified colour, and can be sacrificed for an effect that scales with the number of charge counters on it. So here, this is the... Now, I'm not too good with these. Let me see if I can get the colours right here. Oh, sorry. Of course. The green spell. So yeah, the green one, mana. The red one, damage. The blue one and the black one, discard. The white one's tokens. And this one, which is the blue one, is... Looks like it's, yeah, library manipulation. Okay. Cycle of Soul Eaters. These are common. 5 common artifact creatures with activated abilities that cost a single Phyrexian mana of a specified colour. Okay, so there's 10 mythics in the set. We've seen the Praetors. So what else is there? So Phyrexian Obliterator is a mythic. Etched Monstrosity is also a mythic. Batterskull is. Khan Liberated and Sword of War and Peace. So 5 are part of a cycle and 5 are not. There's our artwork. 2 for each colour. Again, even more spiky and gnarly probably, as now we've got Phyrexians fully taking over the particular plane. There's one non-basic land, this thing, Phyrexia's Core, generates 1 colourless mana. You can tap it to do that, but for 1 1 and tap, you sacrifice an artifact, you gain 1 life. 8 legendaries, of which 5 are the Praetors, so the remaining 3 are Malaria, and you can see here still green, holding up the fight against Phyrexians, so anti-poison. We've got Jor Kadeen, the Prevailer. It's red-white with Metalcraft, so another Mirren faction card. And then Khan Liberated. It's a mythic. So 1 Planeswalker out of the 8. The remainders are all legendary creatures. $82 creatures in the set, and we've seen how some of these are colourless artifact creatures. Oh, sorry, not colours, coloured artifact creatures, where you can pay Phyrexian mana. Dear me, I've got trouble with words this morning. Let's see where we go, and you can see as well, yep, a number of those are also colourless, but might have coloured activation costs or Phyrexian mana activation costs. Spellskites in the set. Only 5 enchantments, 2 in white, 2 in blue, and a red one. Eight auras, 1 white, 2 blue, quite a few black ones. It's 4 and a green one. Let's just have a look. So most of them enchant creatures. This one does artifacts or creatures, and this one does a land. Oh, sorry, Viridian Harvest is artifacts. $22 creature artifacts, so you won't be surprised to see the count quite high just because of the way the presence of these coloured artifacts. Oh, good old Vault Scourge. I think I had a deck with that in. Not standard legal at the time, I don't think. It was just a deck I was playing around with. You just get this out fast with by paying life, and then trying to remember what else was in the deck. I think it might have been a white-black deck. Might have had a bit of equipment in it. Five pieces of equipment: Lashwire, Butterskull, Necropouncer, Sickle Slicer, and Sword of War and Peace. 4 of the 5 are living weapons. And we've got a single sword in here. 21 regular artifacts. And if you look here, you can see there's sort of a mixture. So we've got 3 which feature Phyrexian mana in the casting cost. Then we move on to a number that are just totally colourless, both casting cost and in the in terms of activation costs. And then we've got, you know, ones like this which reference a particular colour of spell. There's also some stuff going on with exchanging life totals. But again, you can notice here how few of these have the Mirren watermark on them. And this is what I was trying to think about. I think the last set where I got confused, I was aware that there are certain cards in the set where they don't really do much apart from just be an artifact to obviously help trigger Metalcraft. "24 instants, some of which you can see can be paid with Phyrexian mana with 2 life. Okay, so protection, tap down, more tap, more tap, single damage prevention, life gain, type change and card draw, counter spell based on poison, counter spell for a limited counter spell there, mental misstep, counter target spell with converted mana cost of 1. Creature spell, counter spell, bounce. Oh, let's dismember that -5/-5 remover, so that will get rid of Phyrexian obliterators. Sacrifice card, proliferate card that also leverages -1/-1 counters. Graveyard shenanigans. Take control until end of turn spell. Large damage spell, although with an additional casting cost. A single damage spell in red, 3 damage spell. Creature destruction for red, where it gives you the controller a beast token. Tokens, artifact destruction, pump, and then graveyard recursion back to the owner's library. Then we have 18 sorcery cards. Well, bit of reanimation there. Back to your hand. Creatures or artifacts or both. Bounce, conditional bounce. Peek of the sort of hand peek, Cataxian Progue. Draw and discard. Draw and proliferate. Conditional draw in black, where you pay with some other it's paid for by some other loss. Despise. So again, discard. There's a -X spell. Oh, okay. So conditional mass removal. Graveyard stuff. So that one allows you to, tutor an opponent's library, so steal stuff from their library. It's a red mana spell. Again in red. You often see this, cards that affect blocking, like a combat trick. Conditional damage, artifact or land destruction. There's a 2 damage across multiple non-artifact creatures in red. We've got an X damage spell for flyers, which again is something you tend to see in green in most sets. There's some way in green of dealing with a flyer in terms of destroying it, condition on its flying. And then You got a small pump spell with trample and infect as well. But again, yeah, look at the lack of Mirren watermarks. Okay, so there's the set as a whole. And I think I've probably been, loads of interesting. So we got like Pure Steer, Paladin. There was I find this set had lots of really interesting, like small creature spells which could be got out quick by taking advantage of Phyrexian mana. In fact, a lot of non-creature spells where that was the case. So interesting the fact that you've got something which is often seen as the sort of thing that black does. So black will often use life like a resource. So it's interesting to see cards in a set where that happens across all the colours. So that was pretty cool. So prices. So Phyrexian Obliterator, $30. Not been reprinted that many times. Then we've got Khan, which clocks in around 28. A few reprints there. Elish Nornia, I'm expecting to see a few Praetors above $10. So this is 23. Unwinding Clock, so this is the one where you untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untapped step. No surprise to see that around $22, $23. And also it was reprinted in Commander 2018 as well. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger, another Praetor, $20. So we've got a lot of stuff here that's hovering above and around $20. So we're probably going to see a number of the... there we go. Birthing Pod. Yes, a Birthing Pod. 3 and Phyrexian mana. 1 Phyrexian mana. Tap it. Sacrifice a creature. Search all over for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability at only any time you could cast a sorcery. And banned in Modern. I wonder why. Yeah, this is a cool card. Wasn't this in a event deck at some point? Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason. I'm sure there was some pre-con that was a Birthing Pod deck. Well, I'll know when I come to look at the event decks. Again, it may have been further on because a lot of the event decks were sort of pulled from sets outside the block, as long as they were sort of still legal in Standard. So 17 for a Surgical Extraction. Oh, another Praetor at 16. Saw of War and Peace. New Phyrexia. Oh, it was an invention. Triumph for the Hordes. Oh, Torpor Orb. Creatures entering the battle don't cause abilities to trigger. There was some interesting stuff in this set. $12. Yeah, you can see why it's taken us a while to get below. So finally, we get below that $10 threshold with Batterskull. It's been reprinted a few times now. And then we move on to Noxious Revival. So anything else up here that's been banned in formats apart from Birthing Pod? Nope. Yeah, pretty heavily invested in black there to play this. 5/5 for 4. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. Cool card. Well, not for your opponent anyway. Anything else before I move on actually? No. So the EDH ranking, EDH rec ranking. The Beast Within, Gitaxian Probe, Mental Misstep, Phyrexian Metamorph. It's a cool card. Noxious Revival, Elish Norn, Shieldred, Triumph for the Hordes. Couple of artifacts, yeah. Okay, oh, Buzzing Pod. So I'm just trying to remember whether I stuck that in that. Yeah, I have a deck, which I think I did I did an episode, didn't I? Where my very first episode of the original Commander Fodder series before it became Commander Durdle, where I did it in paper. There was a commander I messed about, a precon, and for some reason I do remember taking a look at Birthing Pod. I can't remember if it's in the deck or not. I don't think the deck is. No, the deck isn't in easy reach, so it's unfortunate. Because I think I built a couple of decks for that, or put together a couple of decks. One of which I did using like a toolkit approach, and the other one I did using EDH Rec to recommend cards for the commander, and sort of did both builds, I'm pretty sure. So, intro packs. And I'm just going to switch back to this because I always forget to do this. So, colour combinations: blue, black, black, red, green, white, and then so we've got 3 allied and 2 enemy in this in the intro decks, and they were a green, white, golems and splicers, and I'm assuming what happened here was it was pulling in those cards from the previous set. I imagine. Because of course with these they can sort of pull in cards from multiple sources. And then sort of teaming that up with splicers. And they've obviously got things like Mir here, so yeah, pulling, obviously there's stuff from the 2 previous sets. I think I might even have these. Yeah, Scars. Okay. Devouring Skies, blue, black, flying and equipment. Phyrexian Ingester and Argentum Armour. Feast of Flesh, which was a black-red aggro control deck, which focused on creature removal. Chancellor of the Dross and Tower of Calamities. And Life for Death. It's red, white, life gain and Phyrexian mana. With Molten Steel Dragon and Phyrexian Rebirth, one of my favourite cards, as you know, and which was in the previous set, and Ravaging Swarm, which was a green-blue deck with a focus on Infect, Phyrexian Swarmlord, and Inexorable Tide. Now, I don't think they did anything funky with the mana base. I think it all just used straight, basics. Okay, event decks. from within. So there's a green event deck with a focus on the event, the infect mechanic. Yeah, I have this. I definitely have this. And then War of Attrition. I got a white event deck with a focus on equipment and living weapon. I may even have this as well. It's got Dread Statue in that one. And there's an Inkmoth Nexus in this. So finally, I was going to mention it, this idea of mirrored impure. So they sort of dreamt up this story where there were two possible names for the third set in the Scars of Mirrodin block. Because Wizards didn't want to reveal the victor of the Phyrexian Mirren conflict. And Mirrored Impure would have become what Mirrodin would have become had the Mirrens defeated the Phyrexians. And they waited until March the 29th to announce the set was New Phyrexia. There was only one card that was ever printed with the Mirrored Impure expansion symbol, and that was Pristine Talisman, previewed at the Mirrodin Siege game day. I think what caused the problem, was they set up this thing where they, implied that the players would get to choose. And again, I'm not sure if they expressly said it, but yeah, it was implied. And so a lot of people were a bit disappointed when they discovered, in actual fact, whatever the vote would have revealed, it still was going to be New Phyrexia. So yeah. So only one card ever printed with that Mirrored Impure expansion symbol. Or which is, you can see, the same symbol as they use for the watermark. Okay, so coming up on Tuesday we have obviously an episode of Commander Durdle. This is a card pool. I'm going to be building around Erebrusk the Hidden, and I've also got a version of this ready to go with all the non-playables because they're off colour, and then we'll go from there and start to prune it down and use that as a seed for the EDH rec algorithm that's sort of shrink wrapped into Architect, or built in, should I say. I suppose built in is more of a correct term. It's built into Architect. So thanks once again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did making this. It's real fun to look through this set. I've not looked at the set for quite a number of years. So lots of things I'd forgotten about. It was, I think someone else had commented, with the artwork, or there was a discussion, maybe, if I'm right, what I was having in the comment section on one video is, of course, you've got this, and then Wizards are following it up after the core set with, was it horror theme set, I think's next. Yeah. So, pretty dark artwork. Until we get back to the sort of, was it the Return to Ravnica type era, I think, and then journey into Nyx blocks. The Ravnica stuff, and then the sort of what was it, Greek god type themed sets. So these 2 blocks really are blocks of darkness. Thanks for watching. Bye for now, and I will see you in the next video.